Welcome, greetings of the day, everyone. Welcome to STEMGo. This is a show about saving time, energy, and money in your business. It features some great business owners who come on, they share some of the great things that they do in their business that helps their business to grow and to be successful, where they save time, energy, and money, but they're efficient and they're effective and they're productive in what they do. And that's what it's about. It's not necessarily being productive in every single respect or even efficient or effective, but it's about having certain tools and techniques and bits of technology and tips that you can use yourself that enables you to be, to do your business well and to grow your business. So this is a STEMGo, as I said, save time, energy, and money in business. If you want more on this kind of stuff, you can come to our Facebook page, STEMGo, saving time, energy, and money. Today's guest, who's joining me today, is Annemarie Cross. Hello, Annemarie. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Annemarie is a podcasting queen. She started out as a podcaster and has decided to now help other people to produce their own podcasting shows. So she's just the production side and also the branding side of things. So, so I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more, Annemarie, if that's all right.
Yeah, thank you. And as we said before we went live, we had a conversation in the green room. We thought we should have recorded this. But basically, my story is that I started podcasting. It was a co-hosted podcast in 2008. That was when the financial crisis hit. I was in the career industry and we wanted to be the message, the voice of hope and inspiration. When all traditional media was talking about the doom and gloom, and we knew that things were tough and that our clients needed to change their approach to job search. And that's where podcasting is such a great way to get your message out there to make an impact in the world. Since then, we only did that show for 2 years. Since then, I've always had a podcast in my businesses, which was really focused on personal branding, whether it be professionals, executives, or entrepreneurs. And in the last a couple of years, people now have been approaching me and saying, can you teach us what you are doing? And a lot of entrepreneurs, they're great, they're experts at what they do, and they don't necessarily want to have to worry about all of the back end stuff. So we can do that all for them. But we would not be able to do what we do as well as all the interviews that we do if we didn't have systems in place. And one of my mentors said to me years ago, systems liberate you, because it means that you can scale your business, you can keep your sanity, and you can make a much bigger impact in the world. So systems rock in my book.
Absolutely. So tell us about what kind of systems you use in your world, in your business world, or even personal world that kind of makes your business tick over really, really well.
Well, I'm a systems person. So what I generally do is if I do something that's repeatable, like I know that this is something that I continue to do on an ongoing basis, I'll document it and then I'll streamline it and tweak it to make sure that it works. And then I'll hand that off to an assistant or an admin. And that's what I've done. If I look at the podcasting, the back end, and let's face it, there's a lot of organization, coordination. And if I look back to the 2 years that we did a podcast with my co-host, he would spend hours and hours researching guests, searching who they are, putting together show notes, back and forward. I mean, we're based in Australia. We had guests that were from all over the world. That toing and froing was just a nightmare. And I thought when I went on my own, I don't want to have to do that, all of the toing and froing. So I've created systems which gather information from my guests, helps me prepare. I've gathered information to help them prepare what they need. It's now documented on a web page, a one-page web page. I direct people to that. And then the step by step, pretty much that's all I do. So it takes me maybe 5 minutes or maybe a little bit more in emailing and say, here's the link. But from then on, now it's all documented that I have an assistant, a guest coordinator that handles everything for me. She organizes the show notes. She sets up the Zoom account. She coordinates between the guests. I don't do any of that. Now, sometimes I've done up to 26 podcast interviews a week. My own podcast, and then of course client work. So if you incorporate all of that in each of our podcasts, are 20 to 30 minutes in length, there's no way that I could do all of that had I not created the systems that we now use. And the good thing about what I generally tend to do is if I document it, I trial it, and I know that it works, we then package that up with all of the content that we're sharing with my client, and then say to them, you know what, go for it. Don't reinvent the wheel. use it, tweak it to suit yourself. So these systems have really enabled me now to get my team to do that for me. So those were some of the key processes and systems we have.
That is stunning, Anne-Marie, to be able to fit in. I mean, most people would consider 1 or 2 podcasts a week to be enough, right? But we know these days that you've got to put out so much content to compete and be in the market, and to kind of, what's this new statistic? You have to touch people 13 times before they're going to buy from you. Like, that means like putting out 1 or 2 a week is like, sometimes if that's all you did, that's not efficient. Well, it might be efficient, but it's not going to be very effective, because not enough people are going to see you, and you're not going to build that audience fast enough. But to be able to put out 24, 26 a week, that does require some great systems, some and help, because you said that you also
Absolutely.
you have a team of people helping you, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a daily podcast which I produce. Then I've got 2 other shows that I produce for our brand, for my brand. But then of course I've got other podcasts for alliance partners, and then of course the clients, we help them develop their podcast series. And so we've got daily podcasts going out. We've got weekly. We've also got fortnightly, which for those in other countries, that's bi-monthly.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And so no, I've got systems for every step of that way. In fact, if it's repeatable, then I systematize that, because then you can train that. You can also tweak and monitor it, because there's some things that I used to do that I think, that's no longer effective. Like, for instance, we used to use Skype to do a lot of our podcast interviews. Yet Skype, for some reason, just didn't work on my podcast computer, which I'm actually sitting at the moment. So I decided to use Zoom. And then I thought, well, since I'm using Zoom, why not stream it live on Facebook? So we now do a video component. So all of those changes to systems, and also getting it set up beforehand and sending it to the guest. And so we've got someone who guest coordinates once it's edited. I do a lot of the editing myself, although I do have editors for my clients. We make sure that we put that through our post-production editors. But then we've got someone who posts it, who creates the graphics, who sets it up on social media, and this is all happening behind the scene. Now, I used to do all of that, and you can how much, if I still continue to do that, I would be doing that 24/7.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Still do everything else, and of course work with clients. So I think if you want to grow your business and get content out there, at scale, and valuable content, and I think where a lot of people don't see the real benefits is, great that you're sharing content, but how are you leveraging it? Are you creating systems that are going to get people, your ideal client, back into your funnel, systems that nurture that relationship, that has that call to action? All of that is so important. Otherwise, you're creating great content, which is just adding to the noise. People listen to it, they benefit from it, but guess what? You're not able to monetize it. And guess what? We've got systems to monetize all that content, and podcasts as well. You have to, otherwise, as I said, great content, you're making an impact, but not as far as monetizing it, which is important as well.
Absolutely. So for you, when you had to, you were doing all this yourself, right? And that is pretty common for people starting out doing anything, whether it's a blog or a podcast or whatever, and Facebook Lives. You're doing it all yourself, and sometimes it feels so painful to take steps back, to document everything that you're doing, to systemize what you do. Like, how did you find that process when you had to do that? Or did you do it kind of as you went along, so it didn't feel so painful?
Yeah, as I went along, so that it did not feel so painful, because I knew I had the goal and the end in mind. I always say to clients, what's the end in mind? So a little bit of sitting down, document it, and I'll just document it. Step 1, what do I do? Step 2, and I type that out. That then becomes the document. And what I do is I have that all typed out and created on a Google Docs. And then that Google Docs is in folders for my team. And then what I do is I might create videos, and then that gets uploaded, or snapshots, image and snapshot.
Yeah.
That becomes then one central point that my staff continue to review and use. But what I've done is taken it even a step further, is created kind of main templates where things are categorized in what's involved and what's required, and then there's team members which are linked to that. Now I can scale that when I bring on, when we bring on and onboard a client, they're going to get allocated a project manager, a team editor, audio editor, all of that. Now to onboard those people, if I've got original training documents, guess what? I don't have to do that on an ongoing basis.
Sure.
Create once, and then you can't forget it. You need to tweak it, because obviously your team might come back to you and say, and you give them, I always give my team the ability to come back and say, you know what, this isn't working. Let's change it. Let's do it this way. It's
Yeah.
far more efficient. But when you've got that created once and you continue to tweak it to make sure it's working effectively for you, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to retrain someone from scratch. You can send them to those documents,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
training videos, and then just obviously touch base as they need.
It's stunning. It's stunning structure. Structure. I like structure too. I really do. I don't operate without structure in my world. But at the same time, it's got a lot of flexibility in there, hasn't it? So with Google Docs, especially, I love Google Docs for sharing information with my team and people that I work with, because it's just so easy. You can both edit in there, you can both update things at the same time, and you're not kind of versioning. Like, what drives me crazy is having different versionings of things, because different.
And then you think, what was the version? I mean,
Oh,
I've done and been there too. I mean, sometimes that's one of the reasons why I did put it in the cloud on Google Doc, because sometimes I'll save something and then I'm spending like half an hour finding a document, because
yes.
you're always learning and growing, and I've got document after document, think this is just ridiculous. But so Google Docs is a go-to. Dropbox, we use that all the time as well, and we're
Great.
starting to use Trello a lot more as well. And so once you have your go-to tools, you really can build, a system and structure in place. You can have a team that's
Yeah.
global. It doesn't necessarily have to be within your location. And I think the main thing is, as business owners, we have to be visionaries. We have to
Yeah.
be visionaries, as well as working with our clients, as well as overseeing our team. And one of the uh, biggest things that can really dishearten a team member is not having clear outline of what they're supposed to achieve, how they're supposed to achieve it,
Absolutely.
that way of communicating with you. But once you get that all in place and you can kind of sit back and you see your team doing these things, it's a real achievement. But that you're supporting other people in their lives, and that ultimately collaboratively you're impacting the lives of your clients. So
Yeah.
system, it all goes down to those systems and
It's all
processes.
back to systems. It's all back to ultimately being organized and having a vision. Like you said, way back when you were doing all this, you had the kind of vision to think, well, I may actually do something bigger with this. And so you were documenting as you went along. So it isn't that painful when you think, oh my goodness, have I really got to start documenting every single thing that I do to be able to outsource this to someone else, or to share this with my team?
Yeah, I think I'm probably quite fortunate in that way, because I love systems. I love
Yes.
systems. And I'm, and I think for people, you need to find out how can you get it out of your head and document it. Some people like to write it. Some people like to see it, electronically, whatever works for you. And I think for me, I realized that, my vision was bigger than I could possibly ever be. And if you treat it like something that's fun, and
Yeah.
make it fun for yourself, because it is all about flexibility. And for me, whenever I feel overwhelmed, then I go, okay, take a step back. What can I systematize? What can I automate? What can I delegate? Or what do I have to eliminate? Because it's
Yes.
one of those things that will keep me stuck. And that means that I'm not going to be the best for myself or my clients. And ultimately, the people that we serve, and that will hear our message. And it'll always come back to systems, because quite often we don't know, we may not know or foresee what's going to happen. But if we continuously check in and then create a system, it can be a mini little system that will help, contribute to the bigger vision and mission that I know a lot of,
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs are the reason why they went into business in the first place.
Absolutely. Look, we've mentioned so many different bits and bobs on this show today. This is like packed full of, tips, tools, technology, and whatever else. I think this is great, and I'm going to write some of this stuff up on on the show copy afterwards so people can have a read. Thanks so much today for joining us, Annemarie. This is stunning. And you know what? Everyone these days wants to, if they're not doing it right now, they're thinking and listening to podcasts and thinking, I would just love to do that. I've got something really stunning I want to talk about. But the ultimate thing is you've got to have a way of monetizing it these days. If you're not, you're just pedaling so hard and it's not efficient to do that, is it?
Absolutely. And we've got a system for that we can train you in or support you into. So that's something that people are interested in. Just reach out, be more than happy to share.
That's right. I think that's what people need these days, just to get that kickstart into doing these things. And then they get into the habit of outsourcing and not doing it all ourselves. Because that is...
there, I think, is absolutely key. You know, as business owners, we start our business because there's a message that we want to share and an impact that we want to make. But then what happens is we get so bogged down in all of the components that are required to run a business. We need to have that covered because we can't grow a business unless all of those foundations are built. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to do that. That's not the best use of our time, and it's often not our expertise. There's other people who are experts who can do that far quicker, far more effectively.
Yeah.
That's where the courage is required to step back and go, you know what, I can empower myself by empowering someone else to take over. And once we get to that, I think once you start to implement some of these systems, you see how they work, that'll really empower you to start to create, what can I systematize? You know, that's really
it is empowering for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Stunning.
for the opportunity.
Well, people can get you through your, is it Podcasting with Purpose website? Is that the best?
.com is the best place to connect and to find out more, particularly if people really want to take their message nationally or globally. There's lots of articles, there's some free mini training there, and that's a great way, other ways to connect with me, but that's all detailed on the website.
On the website. So I'll put that on the copy too afterwards. And so that is... it's great to watch these shows, guys, you know, for, you know, business owners to come on and share their time and expertise in sharing some of this stuff. But the most important thing that I want you to take away from this is to actually implement this in your business. It is no good just watching it and listening to it and thinking, oh, if only I could. That's not me. These things are all implementable. You know, people like Annemarie have done this. They've been there. They've kind of worn the T-shirt, and now she's helping other people to do this. These are all implementable things. And if you don't feel you can do it by yourself, there are people like Annemarie out there who can help you to do this. So kickstart things, get things on the go right here today with STEMGo. So thanks again, Annemarie. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.
Sure.
Bye.